Hi, everyone. You're about to hear a recap of the movie Chloe. Chloe works as a call girl. She is a master of her craft, so she usually serves rich and powerful clients. She is glared at from the window by Dr. Catherine Stewart. The woman works as a gynecologist, and she believes that there is no mystery in all this bed business, just the body's response to stimulation. Her husband works at a university, and David is being looked at by one of the female students. At the end of the lecture, she invites him to dinner with all the guys, but the man refuses. It's his birthday today, and he has to catch a plane, which leaves in an hour and a half. Catherine wanted to throw her husband a grand surprise party and invited everyone she knows to the house. The plane landed 40 minutes ago, and David should arrive any minute now. But in the meantime, their son Michael came home and slipped into his room with his girlfriend. Suddenly the phone rang, and literally in front of all the guests, Catherine learns that her husband did not make it to the plane and will arrive on the next flight. It is late at night. At that moment, the very same student approached him. The celebration that Catherine had worked so hard for was ruined. But the girl, who had been brought in by her son without asking, stayed the night as if nothing had happened. The next morning, David is going to work and warns that he will be late again, allegedly on the scientific council. He preferred to have breakfast at a cafe on the way. At this time, a half-naked young guest appears in the house again, lying that she has just arrived, although in fact it is not the first time she has been here. Dad has long been aware that the girl periodically sleeps over, and Mom just forgot to ask, "Yes, at least protect yourself," says Catherine. The son replies, "We have condoms." At that moment, Catherine saw the message that came on her husband's phone. "Thanks for last night, kisses Miranda," and their joint photo with the same Miranda during the concert. Catherine has tears in her eyes, but has to hold it together because they are going to have dinner with family friend Frank and his young companion. David is flirting with the waitress, and Frank is making out with his friend. Catherine becomes uncomfortable and goes to the restroom where she unravels her hair. Someone in the next stall squelches their nose and asks to share toilet paper. The women's hands touch, and a pretty blonde named Chloe finds a hairpin and offers it to Catherine. However, the woman ignores the stranger's offer and hurriedly returns to her husband. Meanwhile, Frank calculates among the guests prostitutes, and Catherine realizes that her interlocutor in the bathroom is probably one of them. In the car, Catherine asks her husband, "What do you think of the waitress?" But David counters that he wasn't flirting, he was just being friendly. Also, Catherine brings up the issue of his being late for the plane again, and by asking leading questions tries to draw him out. But David denies everything. From the window of her office, Catherine watches the same blonde woman who regularly goes to the same hotel. After work, the woman goes to the restaurant at the hotel, where Chloe immediately sits down with her and offers to be treated. Chloe explains that she rarely dates women. She usually works with couples. But Catherine isn't in it for herself. She's going to hire Chloe for her husband, since she thinks he's cheating. Chloe will help her find out for sure. She needs to test how David will react to her. Catherine describes her husband as a very handsome man and gives her a tip on where best to meet. She recommends Chloe to introduce herself as a student. The girl finds David in a cafe and asks him for sugar. They meet a glance and the man smiles at her. Catherine withdraws money to pay for the services of a courtesan, and Chloe begins her story. After the sugar episode, David walks up to her and strikes up a conversation, asking her what her name is. However, according to her, he wasn't even flirting. He was just being friendly. Next, Chloe shares with Catherine the secrets of seducing her clients and confesses that she is glad that Catherine appeared in her life. The woman pays Chloe back and asks her to do another check. At home, her husband is chatting with someone and laughing, while her son Michael is crying because his girlfriend dumped him. Catherine peeks into his room, but Michael immediately slams the door in her face. David honestly admits that he had an affair with a student, but insists it was innocent. Catherine complains that she's lost touch with her son, to which David suggests they just relax and drink whiskey. They reminisce about how they were once much closer to each other, how they cared and paid attention. Now, however, work is taking up all their time. Catherine is already counting on intimacy, but David needs to check students' papers. In the morning, Chloe sends a message and sets up a meeting. Catherine is already regretting that she started this investigation. She wants to forget about everything, but Chloe tells her that she met David again. They had lunch, and the man devoured her with his eyes, and then wanted to kiss her. After hesitating, they found a secluded spot in the greenhouse, where Chloe says they spent a lot of time. Catherine is upset. Chloe was only supposed to test how David would react to her attentions, not go that far. At the cafe, Catherine tries to hide her emotions, but when Chloe describes the details of the encounter, it hurts her even more. The blonde says that her words seem to turn Catherine on. As the woman is about to leave, Chloe falls off her bike in front of Catherine, and the doctor, while giving first aid to the wound, the girl apologized for her act. They stayed in the cafe until the evening. Loya describes in detail everything they had with David in the greenhouse, how she had to work with her hand. Catherine decides she wants to see the experiment through to the end, but she has to be 100% sure that Chloe is clean, so she'll have to get tested for AIDS and everything else. At home in the shower, imagining herself already with Chloe, Catherine lowered the shower head below her waist. Joyful Chloe came to Catherine directly to work and immediately caught Michael's eye. They exchanged a couple of phrases, and Chloe for some reason followed the guy, introduced herself, and began to charm him. Chloe came out of the room first, and then Michael. Catherine really hoped that they didn't talk. Chloe dropped by to let Catherine know that everything would happen tonight after dinner. During breakfast with her friends, Catherine thinks of nothing but the past meeting. Everything happened in room 211 in the hotel she already knows. Her friends notice that Catherine is acting as if she has someone. The woman ran to the hotel and entered the said room. The bedding was wrinkled, and a naked Chloe, who had just showered, was hanging out in the bathroom. Sitting down in the chair, she began her story. They met David in the park. The man rented a room, watched a little news, and offered to go to bed. Chloe savored every detail of the story, paying attention to the fact that her words turned Catherine on. But at the end of the story, the woman became uncomfortable. Catherine gave another envelope with payment, took a glass with traces of Chloe's lipstick, and sipped from it. Already at the elevator, Catherine lamented the fact that before she and her husband did everything together, did not separate even for an hour, but all this is in the past. She was younger, and there is nothing else to attract her husband. Suddenly, Chloe adds that David confessed to her that he had never cheated before, and this gets Catherine. Chloe decides to comfort her, and suddenly kisses her. "I can't," Catherine said and ran away. She arrived at Michael's piano recital, where her husband was already waiting for her. Afterward, Catherine again caught David chatting sweetly with a waitress. The man liked the lotion with which Catherine perfumed herself. It was Chloe's lotion. Leaving the banquet, Catherine rushed to the hotel and picked up Chloe from her client. In the room, she frantically began to undress the blonde, but was embarrassed. So Chloe took the situation into her own hands and gave Catherine pleasure. After that, the cab took the ladies home. Chloe found out where her employer lives, and Catherine asked to forget her husband. The girl pulls the very same hairpin out of her bag and, despite Catherine's refusal, insists on accepting it as a gift, claiming that the hairpin belonged to her mother. Chloe's claims insisted on further meetings, but Catherine was getting tired of it all. At home, her angry husband was waiting for her. "Who is he?" David asked. The man is convinced that Catherine is cheating on him. The same accusations fly in the direction of David. He flirts with every woman who catches his eye. Michael intervenes in the quarrel. At work, Catherine waited for a pile of messages asking to call back. All of them were from Chloe. On email, the girl sent a photo on which she and Catherine are naked lying in bed. It turned out that Chloe waited for Catherine at the gynecologist with flowers. Catherine compliments Chloe, but in her opinion, they've gone too far. She wants to pay off the blonde with a check with a tidy sum, but Chloe is adamant and drives her away. However, Chloe is not about to give up. She comes to the rink where Michael plays hockey, flirts with him, and gives him a cassette tape with music from his favorite band. Back home, Catherine hears a familiar tune and realizes that her son has been dating Chloe. Just then, she receives a text message from Chloe. She has seen David again and stated that he feels guilty to her when he touches Catherine. These words hurt Catherine, and she makes an appointment for Chloe to meet her at the cafe. Catherine has a drink for courage and then proceeds to talk to an irritated David. She wants them to finally open up to each other and admit what they've been lying about lately. David admits that he lied about his birthday because he didn't want to feel old age approaching. He says he just had a drink with a coworker, but he wasn't cheating on Catherine. At that moment, Chloe enters the cafe and approaches the table, but David doesn't react to her. Chloe leaves. It turns out that everything she told Catherine was a lie. However, Catherine has yet to clear things up with her husband. How many times has he been tempted, but he has never given in? Disappointed, David leaves. Outside, Catherine tells him about Chloe and her fantasies. She confesses that she slept with Chloe and laments that their relationship with her husband has turned from love to friendship. In response to her words, David kisses her passionately. Meanwhile, Chloe heads to the Stewart family home, where Michael is staying. She confidently enters the house and goes up to her parents' bedroom. There, Chloe finds a gift hairpin, begins to undress, and tries to seduce Michael. Catherine returns and catches them in her bed. She kicks Michael out and Chloe becomes hysterical, saying it can't just be bought and thrown away. She claims that she seduced Michael because he has the same eyes as Catherine, and she could be with him if not Catherine. Michael scurries off to another room to see what's going on. Chloe wounds herself with a hairpin and puts it to Catherine's neck, asking her to kiss her. Catherine complies, but when she sees her son, she pushes Chloe away. The blonde falls out the window and crashes to her death. It seems that despite all the chaos, the story helped the family grow closer. In memory of Chloe, Catherine now wears her beret,